This changes everything for the Toronto Maple Leafs as we are now just a day away from game one against the Florida Panthers. Tensions are high, and there are a bunch of updates surrounding the Leafs we're going to dive into. But there is also one particular thing that is going to decide everything for this series. I'll break down exactly what that is and discuss what it means going forward. But before we get into it, if you're a part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Leafs content. Your guys' support has been unbelievable. If you're a part of the 70 or so percent who aren't subscribed to the channel, we are on the road to 17,000 subscribers. We're getting there very, very fast. If you want to help us towards that goal, make sure to hit the subscribe button. And no, we will be live tomorrow following the game. Just a reminder there, it's going to be a scary game, but it's also going to be very electric and very fun. But there's a lot to go over today. And speaking of fun, it's been fun watching Anthony Stolarz and the Leafs take care of business against the Senators. But now we have to shift our focus into the Florida Panthers series, which starts tomorrow. And there is one thing that's going to change everything and decide this series, and it's going to be the goaltending. And this has been, talked about a little bit. We've been talking about all the physicality of the Panthers. Max, we had a video earlier today, Max Pacioretty, Bobby McMahon, the difference on those lines, all those different things. But at the end of the day, we've seen it with the Winnipeg Jets, which I'm going to use as an example multiple times here. None of that matters unless you have a good performance from your goaltender. And you can look at their stats throughout the first round. And you can see here, Sergei Bobrovsky and Anthony Stolarz have identical stats, albeit Stolarz has one more loss than Bobrovsky. I want to get your thoughts on this. Now, we have you also have some updates surrounding the series and things like that, but it's all going to rely on Anthony Stolarz. You signed a Kiprios come out, like you mentioned in the video earlier today about, how they should maybe use Joseph Wall for rest, all these different things. They're going to rock Anthony Stolarz, win or lose here, unless he's very, very bad. And the rest is going to be a concern. But if Stolarz can go toe-to-toe with Sergei Bobrovsky, I'm pretty confident in the Leafs being able to take care of business against the Panthers.
And he is right now. When you look at, statistically, like you said, he has one more loss than Sergei Bobrovsky through these playoffs so far, but identical stats. They're doing the exact same thing for their team. And like you mentioned, Nick Kiprios and some other people, and let us know in the comments, would you put Joseph Woll in net for game one or any game in this series? They're not going to do that. I don't think they should do that. I mean, again, I said it in a previous video, ride whoever's hot in net until the wheels fall off. Until they're injured, whatever it is, they need to play every single game. This is the playoffs. We're not doing the Boston thing. Boston didn't even do the Boston thing after game 2 last year, right? So we're not doing that stuff. Stolarz should play. He's putting up a good performance. The shots are down across the league during the playoffs as well, so you have to keep that in mind. 901, I don't know, right? Like, no, there's less shots, and, if Ottawa scored like 2 or 3 goals, it's going to look worse, right? So I think that he's been playing great. Again, did he let in a couple stinkers over the course of that series? Yes, but look what's happening, like you said, elsewhere in the league. I mean, Connor Hellebuck hasn't finished the game on the road, right? So it could be a lot worse. I think Stolarz is really, really, really giving the Leafs a good opportunity to win each and every night, and that's all you can ask for from your goaltender. And, when things do get past the defense, if he's there to make a big save, which I think Stolarz has multiple times in the, previous series, you're going to find some success. So I do think a lot of it will come down to goaltending as well, because if Stolarz is up to the task of Bobrovsky, the Leafs have a really, really good chance in this series because, again, a lot of the lines are going to cancel each other out, and it's going to be a series of bounces, I think, or, just luck at times, I think. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
And obviously, save percentages in general are down across the NHL in playoff time. You mentioned it, less shots, more high danger shots. Also sometimes less high danger shots. And talking about, of course, the goaltending from Anthony Stolarz. We covered a quote in the video earlier today, so check that one out after this one. The Leafs had 3 players from last year's Stanley Cup winning Panthers: Stolarz, OEL, and Steven Lorentz. This series will be different than 2023, and that's something that's going to matter. Obviously, from OEL, he obviously knows how the Panthers forwards play, which will help him defensively. Steven Lorentz, same thing. But with Anthony Stolarz in particular, he should have some better idea, and I mentioned it earlier in the video this afternoon, about how to take advantage of where either, knowing what a guy's strengths are. And of course, Matthew Tkachuk, I think he said on the Pat McAfee show that he doesn't even remember scoring on Anthony Stolarz during practice because of how big he is. So it's going to be a very good matchup. Now, on the other side, Sergei Bobrovsky is very good, and he won the Stanley Cup literally last season. So, I mean, you have to give the advantage. Most people would give the advantage to Sergei Bobrovsky coming into this series. And again, most people, fans around the NHL, whether that's because they're not a fan of the Leafs or whatnot, have the Panthers winning this series pretty handedly. But we have Stolarz coming out and saying we saw Tkachuk in round 1 and you get another one in round 2. But I want to dive into this quote here. And Anthony Stolarz on Laughton's block. We're going to need everyone to do that this series. It's going to have to be from line 1 to line 4, the deep pairing 1 to deep pairing 3. That's what it's going to take. And it's moments like that potentially swing a series. We briefly covered in the video earlier. This is going to be the differentiator. Not necessarily Laughton blocking a shot, even though they did technically win them the series. You never know what would have happened if he didn't win that. And we all know how confident we would have been going into game 7, which is not that confident. You need everybody to play this way, and whether that's Scott Laughton, whether that's Max Domi, whether that's even the core 4, you have to be ready to put your body on the line. But it's going to take To win this series, you're going to need to play not near perfect hockey, but near the top of your ability, which isn't going to be perfect, but they need to do this. And you need guys, especially in the bottom six, but most importantly, the top six, to do this. And I think Anthony Stolarz, with this quote, is very clearly saying, if we don't put our bodies on the line, Panthers are going to come out, they're going to do it, and they're going to take care of business pretty handily.
I think that's the message from a lot of the guys. Steven Lorentz came out and said something as well. Like even Max Pacioretty, you have to be willing to die out there on the ice, right? This is what's going to have to happen against the Florida Panthers. They've been there and done that, at least the core group of players. There's a lot of different faces on that team now because they're missing a lot of players from that Stanley Cup championship run. But the core group, right? They have that championship DNA. They're going to put their bodies on the line. They know what it takes to win. So I feel like a lot of the guys that were there last year are now coming out to tell the Leafs, the rest of the Leafs team, this is the type of stuff you got to do. You're going to get a puck in the arm. It's not going to feel good, right? Stuff like that. You have to come out, block these shots. And that's kind of what I was talking about a couple of minutes ago in terms of like when things do sneak through, right? But if you're putting your body on the line, trying your best, and then your goaltender in Stolarz can come up with a big save, which we've seen in the past, you're going to find success. You'll be okay, but you have to do these things and you have to finish your checks. Because again, at times against the Senators, they weren't doing that. Were they doing it? Yes. But you got to do it every single shift. You have to make sure the Panthers know that you're there, you're in this series. So there's a lot that the Leafs still need to do, I think, but they can find success. They have the skill. That always shines through. That'll always come through as long as you're outworking the other team and as long as you're putting your body on the line like this. Because like you said, if this got through and then went in or something, like you never know what happens in that series. It would have been a little bit scary, right? But made the block. Everyone's putting the body on the line. That's what it takes to win. So I think this is kind of, a coded message as well to say, thank you, Scott Laughton, for blocking that shot, but also everybody else take a look at this because this is what we got to do.
Yeah, and obviously, Brad Shirley made moves this offseason. Some people are saying to directly go against the Florida Panthers. I don't know if that's directly the case, but it definitely lined up that way, especially with the acquisition of Scott Laughton, who's going to be seen in the playoffs. Let's touch on Babski a little bit here. In his in the second round series that we're all familiar with, a couple of years ago, he had a 943 save percentage in 5 games. That will not happen again. Leafs have a great shot at having a better goaltending this series. I find people, when talking about the 23 series, are not mentioning that at all. And this is an interesting one. So there's 2 different ways to go about this. If you want to be like Edna Garrett, you can go out and think, okay, this is good because there's no way he can sustain a 943 save percentage like he did in the 23. He'll get a couple sneaky shots to go through, and then it's a different series, which is very true. On the other hand, there's also the side of maybe he just has the Leafs figured out, and that's why he was so good in the postseason. Now, I'm going to lean towards more the first option. I think ultimately he's going to be not as good as that. And if he doesn't have a crazy good series, I really like the Leafs' chances. And of course, their goaltending is a lot better. But at the same time, he is one of the best goalies, we've seen in our generation. He's a very good goalie, and you're going to have to go up against him. And he said regarding Stolarz, in our business, it happens often. You play with guys and you play against him. Look at Brad Marchand, you would never think of, and all of a sudden we compete together now for our dreams. So it's going to be crazy, and it's always a nice reminder that Brad Marchand plays for that on the third line, and that's going to be a very important thing. But any thoughts on this? As we also a couple other updates here I want to dive into, and I'll look at your thoughts on the goaltending in a minute here. This is very important. Couple of different things here surrounding Matthew Tkachuk. So Matthew Tkachuk, and you kind of hinted at this in yesterday's video, how maybe it could be an injury, even though I said it wasn't. He was not on the ice for the start of practice. Unsure if he got there towards the end of practice. He probably did get in some capacity. He's probably dealing with something because he's missed 2 practices in a row here. And you don't usually do that this close to game 1. We're 24 hours, a bit, over 24 hours away from game 1 here. He's going to play. There's no doubt in my mind that he's going to play, but it might be an Austin Matthews situation or, some sort of injury situation where, no one's 100% right now, but it's a little bit concerning if you're a Panthers fan. And I'm not going to say it's good for the Leafs because, of course, you never want to see anybody injured on that regard. But, they're dealing with their own injuries over there in Florida as well.
Yeah, he's definitely dealing with something. He's been dealing with something. I don't know when he came back if he was ever 100% based on what he was dealing with at the Four Nations faceoff, right? He got hurt there and he sat on the bench for almost the entire last game. So he's going to play. Absolutely, he's going to play. But, how effective is he going to be? Don't get your hopes up either. They still got Barkov and a couple other guys, right? Like, this is a good team. And obviously, Bennett's always a difference maker. And Evan Rodriguez, unsung hero last year. So, they still have a lot of really good players. But that's something, that you can take advantage of. If he's not feeling like himself, he's not able to play, right? You can kind of get inside of his head, play more physical, stuff like that. And then to go back to the goaltending, too. Again, do I think Bobrovsky is going to be as good as he was in 2023? Probably not. There's a world where he can be, but probably not. That was an insane series. But I think the reason he was so good in that series is because of the way that the Leafs played back then. A lot of the perimeter stuff, right? They look like Ottawa in the past series against the Leafs, right? A lot of perimeter shots, low danger, not any good scoring chances, really. That could make a difference in a game. So is he going to play that good? I don't think so, right? And I think it's because the Leafs have a different play style now. They're more direct, north-south, stuff like that, and we've seen it work. So I don't think he's going to be as good. And on the other side of things, the Leafs goaltending is going to be better. So it's going to be a long series. It's going at least 6 games, one way or another. It's going to go at least 6, could go 7. It's going to be an absolute war, a battle, and we'll see who flinches first.
Yeah, hopefully the Leafs take care of business tomorrow. Let's not your predictions, and also on these lines, the key factor here is going to be both the goaltending and that fourth line. I think the Leafs have a very big advantage there. But the third line, on the other hand, we're going to need Pacioretty or I guess Bobby McMann on the third line to step up there. So those are your thoughts. I thank you guys for watching. See you later.